Hey everyone, Colin once again, and welcome back to another movie review. We're back on the reviewing the Rugrats film trilogy, and now this one I really like to review is my favorite of the trilogy. To me, the best the best in the trilogy, and I do enjoy more than the first movie. I do like the first movie though, but this one I got more enjoyment from. And it's the next one is Rugrats in Paris, the movie. Yeah. And released 2 years after the first film, which was the year 2000. And it came out around the same time as 102 Dalmatians, and also the same time as Unbreakable and How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Um, it had some competition it faced with. Yeah, it like the first film would open up number one, but this one opened up I think was two or three, I forget. But it made a little bit less. It made less money in the first film, but it made like a grand total 100. Impressed to me a solid 103 million. It managed to break 100 million worldwide, so 103 million, which is fairly solid for a Rugrats movie on its budget of 30 million. Um, but not only that though, it was fared much better than by critics than the first movie. So the critics like this film more than the first film. Has a 6.1 IMDb, which is a bit higher than the first film, and then also has a solid 75% Rotten Tomatoes, which is much more higher than the first one. So critics preferred this one much better than the first one. And like on the front cover here, really enough, Roger Ebert gave this film a thumbs up, calling it bright and funny. Right there, yeah, by Roger Ebert, may rest in peace. And also why I liked it more, because one of the reasons that it's a story that's where it's mostly about Chucky, really enough, because of how the first film, how it was more about Tommy dealing with the relationship of his little brother. This one is more about Chucky's movie, and because because there was a thing about in the show how he has no mother, because in retrospect how his mother died like a little bit after he was born, so he has no mother because he's been living with his father Chaz. So they kind of like fill in the gap for that, so for him having a new mother, and which all at the same time they introduced the new Rugrat, Kimmy, with her mother Kira. So the film is about Chucky, how he wants to get a new mother, and one of the reasons I like more. But I just like the fact that they're in Paris and new adventure for them. But how it opens, they like how the first one did like a parody of Indiana Jones. It opens up when they do a parody of The Godfather, and they're at Grandpa Lou's wedding, because in the show he meets a Lulu, so in which you see them together and later in the series. So it shows that they have a wedding right here, and when it comes to have a mother child dance, Chucky couldn't do it because he has no mother. So him and his dad they sit out, and while that's going on, Tommy's father Stu, they found he's been invited to come to your Reptar land in Paris, because he was like one of the designers of this new Reptar robot, and he needs to like to fix it, I guess. So he's invited, and he's bringing the whole entire family with him. I guess, well, not Grandpa, because I think he's not going. And you also forget, you see Susan just for only the beginning and not until the end. Like, you also saw Susie at the beginning of the first film as well, so she's not entirely a lot in the first two movies, but I think she's in more in number 3. So, but she's not going, she stays behind. And as they're on the plane, they basically get a little bit of trouble with the stewardess on the plane. And as they get to Paris, they get into this the nice hotel, and they meet Kira. And not yet until they get to the restaurant. But as they prepare to leave to see the robot, Spike is along there, and he sees a French poodle, which is the name I think was Fifi. And as he sees the dog being chased, you have the song "Who Let the Dogs Out" by Baha Men. You know, who let the dogs out? Just for that brief moment, so he starts to chase after her. And so they see the robot, and because it's like those controllers, like those like control helmet, gloves, and feet wear to move the robot. So the Stu has to fix it because it has a few kinks in it. And they meet our villain of the movie, which I would say is the true villain of the trilogy, because you got the wolf in the first movie, which I wish they could have done more with the wolf as the main villain to see more of him. I like the villain. I like the wolf though, but I wish they were. One thing I forgot to mention in the first review of the movie is that they didn't show much of the wolf. I wish they could have done more with the wolf. But I guess the best or the true villain of this trilogy is Coco LaBouche, who's voiced by Susan Sarandon. She's a person who is always mean and doesn't like children, and she wants to become president of the company that she works for Euro Reptar. And while they're also the restaurants, they meet Kira and Kimmy. And they said that what was it? They like how were the plans? Somehow she plans how that Coco, she wants to how she becomes president. Like she pretends like to she pretends to like Chaz, and there's someone has I forget. I'm drawing a blank on how this whole plan how the plan comes to when Coco wants to be president. I forget. I'm drawing a little bit of a blank on this, but it's one thing is as part of it is that she has to pretend to like Chaz, and also the same how they plan to suppose on a date that like she has this little thing to talk to, like a little microphone to talk to Kira about what to do and stuff on dates and stuff, and like Kimmy how it shows the baby's way to get to the tower to see this princess, which Chucky wants to like be like a new mommy, and you get a fun little chase where they're at the ooey gooey world of this ride, and as they get out, Kira gets security to go after them, which they dress up like ninjas, and you have that song what's that song called? Life is a Party by Aaron Carter, as they're being chased by the ninjas. It's a fun little chase. It's not that big or anything, but it's a fun little chase. As they get on the top of the mountain, the door they see like the princess, which is an animatronic, but they don't know that. they go as the doors close, and as the doors close, they says, Chucky, go up there and knock, whatever. And then there's the door handles that have like dragons on them, and he's afraid to go near them. But they get caught. They get brought back to the ride, and while that's going on, Spike meets Fifi, and they do like their little parody of Lady and the Tramp with a pizza, but their face gets stuck together. And also when Chucky goes to sleep, you get this little dream, which is also like in a thing like in which is also another a game I play on that's based on the movie on the Nintendo 64, the Rugrats of Paris movie on a Nintendo 64. Like he has a dream like how he's like a warrior himself, doing karate and whatever. There's a little part in a game in that movie, a little level in that game that you can do where he does like kung fu or whatever. So, and then they go to this play, and I guess Coco was like on the play, doing the play, whatever, and well, she goes and takes the spotlight because she takes the one who was supposed to be the princess, and she becomes that, making Chucky think that she's gonna be the mother, whatever. And they decided to plan on a wedding. They decided to plan to get married. So, and while that's happening, Angelica was like talking with Coco, saying that she can get like whatever she wants as long as she does this, whatever. And on the wedding day, Coco takes the children away with his assistant, her assistant, Jean-Claude, which is also is also voiced by John Lithgow, which he's been in a lot of movies, John Lithgow, and I like John Lithgow. I did like him in a lot of movies that he was in, especially one of them was 2010, the year we made contact, which was the sequel to 2001: A Space Odyssey. I like John Lithgow in that movie. But he's been in a lot of movies. He even voiced who was the guy's name in Shrek? God. I'm drawing a blank. He was the villain in Shrek. He was the short guy. I forget how. He was the voice of that guy. I forget his name. But I like John Lithgow, so he was good in a lot of movies. I liked him. I can't believe I forgot that character's name in Shrek. But so Jean-Claude takes the babies away, and she kind of betrays Angelica. It's like, oh, I didn't get my prey, this and that, and also she takes a Chucky's teddy bear, which is a wow wow. It's like wow wow. Because he has that all throughout the movie, and Kira, who does Chaz, and she feels sorry for the babies. And she gets thrown out of Coco's car, and she tries to take the bike to catch up to them, which they're planning to get married in the Notre Dame church. And while Jean-Claude is watching the babies, Chucky decides he's gonna stand up, and he's gonna go and get to his father at the church. So they decided to hijack the robot Reptar, and so they get the robots. They know how the thing. It was always funny how they know how this stuff works. And as they're stopping through the cities, and Jean-Claude, he steals he takes controls of Robo Snail, and they get this little fight. They have their little fights in the city, and they're on the Eiffel Tower, and Angelica's being hurled through the air, and Chucky's trying to catching her with the robot, and Kimmy goes along for the ride. And while at the church, Coco, she wants to start the wedding right away, but Chucky doesn't want to start without his son. And so Chucky decides to fight Robo Snail and defeats it, plunging into the river. And as they near towards the church, Phil and Lil, they see a compartment where there were some of the parts were replaced with paper clips and rubber bands. They take it out, and the head hurls off. And as Chucky gets to the church door, he sees like the door handles with the dragons on him, so he faces his fears and pushes through, and he screams out "No!" like to Chaz. That was his first word that he's ever said. He says "No," and as everyone gets there, they see what what Coco truly is, and the president of the company that they're working for is there, and Angelica explains everything to him, and the guy I forget what the guy's name, but he fires her, saying, "No, Miss LaBouche, you are dismissed," and she's like, "Fired? No one fires Coco LaBouche." And the baby, Tommy, Phil, and Lil, they're standing on the wedding dress, and she like yanks it and makes him fall. And Angelica's like, "Listen, lady, no one messes with my dumb baby except me." And she steps on it and she rips the dress, and Jean-Claude is there. Like, "I see London, I see France, I see Coco's underpants." And people are outside taking pictures, and she's really embarrassed. She walks out angrily. So, Coco, no, Kira is there and gives back Chucky's teddy bear, and then one of those, they know that they both like each other, so they finally get married, and now Chucky has a new mommy, and they return to do the baby's doing the Godfather parody once again, and then they have the dance. What was the song? Which of the songs I thought was an improvement over the first movie. There was one by "When You Love" by I forget what that, Sinead O'Connor, I guess. The songs and the score I would say is an improvement over the first film. What I would say most of the things I would say is an improvement over the first film. First film I would say. So. But, and while it's going on, the babies, Angelica wants a piece of cake, and the babies, they steal a cake, they throw it in her face, and then one relates to another, it starts this big food fight, everyone's throwing cake everywhere, and it ends with the cake being thrown at the camera. So, and as the credits are going, and you hear Baha Men's "Who Let the Dogs Out" playing again. As the credits are going, you see pictures of the stuff that of Spike and there's when he's in France. So Rugrats in Paris, I would say I definitely enjoy more than the first film. It's definitely, I would say, is an improvement over the first film. I would say I like how it was more about Chucky's story rather than the Tommy again. I enjoy how, other than the story is much better than the first film. I always enjoyed when they introduced the new character, Kimmy, the new Rugrat. I would say it's like Susan Sarandon. I thought she did a really good job as Coco. I thought she, as all the trilogy, as the Rugrats trilogy, yes, I think she was the best villain. Like I said, the wolf I thought could have been used. I like the wolf though, but I thought he could have been used more to show he's a villain in the movie though. And then the third when Rugrats Go Wild, I would say it has a very weak villain though. So that's why I would say Susan Sarandon's Coco, voice of Coco, is the best villain of the trilogy. And John Lithgow as Jean-Claude was good as well. I would say overall, once again, good voice cast. The songs I think is better in the first film, as does the score. Like especially who let the dogs up by Baha Man, because that was the one that I grew up with. Such a one I remember from Rugrats in Paris was Who Let the Dogs Out. The animation tried to do the animation for like a Rugrats cartoon was really well done as well. And I guess I can see how critics fared like this one more than the first one. I can definitely see that. And I enjoy Rugrats in Paris. This is another I would say it is the best in the trilogy. I'm sure some people will agree with me, or they prefer the first film better though. But to each their own. It's definitely, to me, it's the best in the trilogy, and I like how like the little bit of chase. We know when they're getting chased by the ninjas, the fun little chase, or when they use the reptile robot going into the streets of Paris to get to the church. And it's not that, and I also say, well, like the first film, it's not that long of a movie. It's about this one runs about 78 minutes, so it's way under 90 minutes, so it's not that long of a movie. It's very well paced, and so is the first film. Forgot to mention that as well. So yeah, and yeah, I would say it's definitely the best in the trilogy. I love Rugrats in Paris in the movie. And this is how much it reflects in retrospective that I grew up with Rugrats, and it's always been a childhood thing. One of my favorite cartoons of all time. And I'm sure a lot of people who like me grew up with the Rugrats. It's definitely a classic cartoon, and I'm not seeing it being dated. Some people say it's a dated cartoon show. I would disagree. It's not dated at all. It's still a really good cartoon. It's still to me. I can watch it. It's still watching it and saying it's not dated at all. So yeah, and as the show continued after the movie, and that's by the time Kimmy's in the series, and among other things. But Rugrats Paris, I enjoy. Some features has a Rugrats in Paris documentary. Has a music video of Who Let the Dogs Out. 2 alternate endings, which I never cared for. I think the ending in the theatrical version was fine. The 2 trailers and the promos. Yeah. So yeah, that's my review for Rugrats in Paris the movie. I love the sequel. I would say it's definitely the best one in the trilogy. I enjoy it more in the first film. The villain is better than the first film. Songs, score, pacing, well, the character's still the same though, but it's more like because it's more about Chucky than Tommy was, and the animation is still well done, and so I don't know more I can say. So Rugrats in Paris. Plus if anyone has not seen any of the trilogy, I would recommend give them a watch. And so yeah, so that's my review for Rugrats in Paris, and now stay tuned for the last one in the trilogy, which is where they cross over to meet the Wild Thornberrys. That's Rugrats Go Wild. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned on the next movie review. And I'll see you on the next review. Later.